President Trump is digging in on his threat to television networks. This is more old media, but he's digging in and he says he thinks they are, quote, against him.
Late night host is on network television. There is a licensing. I'll give you an example. I read someplace that the networks were 97% against me. I got 97% negative, and yet I won easily. I won all 7 swing states, popular, but won everything. And if they're 97% against, they give me only bad publicity or press. I mean, they're getting a license. I would think maybe their license should be taken away.
David Chalian is still here, in addition to Nia Malika Henderson of CNN and Bloomberg and Abby Livingston of Puck. Thank you all for being here. I just want to stay on what we just heard from the president for a beat, because, you know, it's one of those moments where I think we need to just stop and go, this is not normal. This is not usual. This is a wow moment, because there's so much coming at us 24/7. There are so many times where we can say this is unprecedented. This is like next level. And it's not just because it's about us in the media. It's about a fundamental in the Constitution, not just free speech, but how much power a president should have when it comes to people who say things in the free press that don't agree with him, David.
Yeah, and it fits into a larger pattern, right? This is not a standalone moment. You said there's so much coming at us, but even sort of in this space of how Donald Trump in his second term is taking a maximalist approach to his power, pushing every limit possible to amass power after sort of thinking that in the first term, there were sort of unrealized opportunities in doing that with various guardrails and the like that were in his administration that we've talked about. And I think this is the latest example. Make no mistake about this. Donald Trump is clearly, he's saying in his own words, this doesn't require interpretation, looking to create and curate an information environment, a media environment that is suited to his liking and his preferred messaging. I mean, that is just against the grain of a foundational principle of the country.
Yeah, and it is related to what we talked about at the beginning of the show, TikTok, because, again, we don't know any of the details about how it would work if it even happens. But the fact that he has 2 huge supporters with endless supplies of information, of money to help control the way people see information, just like China does, just like American media companies, social media companies do now, they can manipulate the algorithm. We've seen that on X, definitely. Nia, I want to stay, though, on network television and play another really remarkable moment. Brendan Carr, who everybody knows by now is the chair of the FCC, who is really pushing the bounds, spoke to our colleague Scott Jennings on his radio show yesterday, and he didn't just threaten more problems that networks could have. He got specific.
I would assume you can make the argument that The View is a bona fide news show, but I'm not so sure about that. And I think it's worthwhile to have the FCC look into whether The View and some of these other programs that you have still qualify as bona fide news programs.
Nia?
Listen, I think he is saying the quiet part out loud, and you see some of this, the reaction to this already. The View yesterday didn't really take up the Jimmy Kimmel story because they are afraid of what's to come, that there are going to be consequences for their speech. There is going to be scrutiny. This is a president that hasn't liked the fact that people on some networks, on some very popular programs like The View, aren't on his side. Don't say laudatory things about him. Of course, there is some balance there. There's a Republican on there as well, but he wants it to be tilted more to his side. And listen, we've seen not only networks, but also print outlets kind of do his bidding, move a little bit more to the right and be more favorable to him. I mean, the Washington Post, for instance, comes to mind, and you saw Barack Obama weigh in on some of the troubling things that he's seen from the Washington Post, them firing somebody because they don't think necessarily that certain people fit with this sort of rightward tilt that they want to go towards to curry favor with Donald Trump or not incur his wrath in scrutiny. So it's very, very troubling. It's chilling. It's remarkable. The other remarkable piece about this is that Republicans, what will they do, right? They have been all up in arms previously about sort of cancel culture and the mainstream media being too left. And so now you have somebody using the arm of the government, the power of the government, to chill and control speech.
So the answer to that so far is that most Republicans, as is the issue with most things that we've seen President Trump do recently in this term, most Republicans on the Hill are defending him. But not all conservatives are. There's a podcast that is very popular among conservatives. It's called The Flagrant Podcast. Let's listen to what Akash Singh said about this.
But in terms of censorship, freedom of speech is more under attack now, honestly, than I think it has ever been. We didn't like left-wing, like far-left policy or far-left whatever thoughts. It wasn't like Joe Biden was putting pressure on somebody to get canceled for saying. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what makes this different and scarier to me.
Abby?
Well, I think the reason he's able to go so far is because there is no pushback from Congress. But there is a risk in this. This is a debate that's going far beyond the world of policy and political junkies and extends into the culture. And there's viewers, talent, actors, writers, people who are on television every day who may push back on this. And I think that's the central question. And I think that's why Jimmy Kimmel is such a fascinating figure in this, because he's very politically powerful in Hollywood. And I don't mean as a Democrat, I mean in the community of Hollywood. He sees every star every day for the last 20 years on his show. And so does he summon that power to push back, and do people follow him, is a very key question to me in this.
Yeah, it's a really good question. He has not said anything yet, but his competitors on late night broadcast TV have. As we go to break, let's listen to what they said last night.
If ABC thinks that this is going to satisfy the regime, they are woefully naive. And clearly, they've never read the children's book, If You Give a Mouse a Kimmel.
I just want to say before we get started here that I've always admired and respected Mr. Trump. I've always believed he was, a visionary, innovator, a great president, an even better golfer.
To be honest with you all, I don't know what's going on, and no one does. But I do know Jimmy Kimmel, and he's a decent, funny, and loving guy, and I hope he comes back.